The vast, silent darkness of space was broken by the sleek, menacing shape of the Cathar scout ship, the Claw of Ascendancy. It drifted like a predator, its sharp angles and dark metal hull soaking up the light from the nearby star. Inside, Commander Vorlak stood perfectly still on the command deck, his reptilian eyes fixed on the main view screen. The planet below was a swirl of brilliant green and deep blue, a beautiful jewel hanging in the blackness. His long fingers tapped on the console, pulling up the latest sensor reports. He read them again, a low, satisfied hiss escaping his thin lips. There were no energy readings. No signs of weapons or shields. No cities or ships. The planet was quiet. It was, for all his advanced technology could tell, empty. To Vorlak and the mighty Cathar Imperium, empty meant available. It meant theirs. This world is unclaimed, Vorlak said, his voice a dry rasp. A perfect prize for the Imperium. Prepare a landing party. Down on the surface, the air was warm and carried the smell of strange flowers. Sub-Commander Back led his team of soldiers out of the landing craft. Their heavy boots sank into the soft, rich soil. All around them, the planet was alive with color and sound. Tall trees with purple leaves swayed in the breeze. Small, six-legged creatures with soft fur chittered from the branches. Back ignored it all. His job was simple: perform the claiming ritual. He carried the Imperial Standard, a sharp metal spike topped with the symbol of the Cathar Imperium, a claw tearing through a star. The ritual was ancient. You find a good spot, you plant the standard, and you claim the world for your own. It was the law of the galaxy. Finders, keepers. He found a clear spot on a small hill overlooking a wide, calm river. It seemed like a good place. Here, he said to his soldiers. We will claim this land for the Imperium. He raised the spike high, getting ready to drive it deep into the ground. But as he brought it down with force, there was a loud clang. The vibration shot up his arms. It wasn't the sound of hitting rock. It was the sound of hitting metal. Back frowned. He knelt down, brushing away the dark soil with his gloved hands. His fingers found an edge. He cleared more dirt, revealing a flat, smooth surface. It was a plaque, made of a dull, gray metal. It had been buried just beneath the surface. He called his soldiers over to help. Together, they dug around it and pulled it from the earth. It was a simple rectangle, about the size of a large book. One side was covered in strange markings. There was a circle with dots around it, like a map of a solar system. Next to it was a twisting, ladder-like shape. And below that, a long line of numbers. At the bottom, there was writing in a language his helmet computer struggled to translate. After a moment, words flashed onto his visor. It read, "We were here. This world is under the stewardship of humanity. Claimed by the United Earth Starship Endeavour, stardate the 12th of October 2148. Back felt a small flicker of surprise. Humans? He had heard of them. A young species, from a distant world. They were not known to be powerful. They were not part of any great empire. What was one of their plaques doing here? He contacted the ship orbiting high above. Commander Vorlak, he said. We have found something. He sent an image of the plaque. There was a long silence from the ship. Then, Vorlak's voice crackled over the communicator, filled with impatience. It is a relic, he snapped. A piece of trash from a primitive species. They probably passed through this system long ago. It means nothing. Remove it. Complete the ritual. Back looked at the old plaque. It felt solid and important in his hands. The writing was clear. It was a claim. But his commander had given an order. He handed the plaque to one of his soldiers. Get rid of it, he said. The soldier took it and tossed it casually into the thick bushes nearby. Back picked up the Imperial Standard again. This time, when he drove the spike into the ground, it slid in deep and easy. The symbol of the Cathar Imperium stood tall and proud on the small hill. The land was claimed. He looked out at the peaceful river and the strange forest, satisfied with his work. He had no idea that by throwing away that simple piece of metal, he had just pushed the first domino. He had just given the planet a reason to wake up. The soldier tossed the human plaque into the bushes. It landed with a dull thud against a thick, twisted root. For a single, quiet moment, nothing happened. The wind still rustled the purple leaves. The river continued its gentle flow. Then, a sharp crack echoed through the clearing. The titanium plaque, designed to last for millennia, did not break easily. But the root it had struck shifted with sudden, immense force, snapping the metal plate in two. The sound of the break was like a starting gun. The constant, Gentle chattering of the furry creatures in the trees stopped all at once. It was as if someone had flipped a switch. The sudden silence was heavier and more alarming than any noise. Sub-Commander Back and his soldiers froze, their hands going to their weapons. They looked around, their helmeted heads turning quickly. Then, a new sound began. It started as a low hum, coming not from one place, but from everywhere at once. The delicate, vine-like plants that curled around the trees began to glow. A soft, green light pulsed within them, beating like a slow, steady heart. The light traveled along the vines, connecting them, turning the entire forest into a vast, luminous network. The creatures in the trees started chattering again, but it was different. Their random, chaotic sounds were gone. Now, their calls were a unified, rhythmic clicking. Click click click. Click click click. It was a sound that felt organized, intelligent. It was a signal. A voice filled the air. It did not come from a speaker or a person. It seemed to come from the air itself, from the leaves, from the ground beneath their feet. It was calm, clear, and utterly without emotion. It spoke in perfect Cathar. Directive 1 violated, preservation of human artifacts. Enforcement protocol activated. Back's mind raced. Directive? Enforcement? This was not possible. This was a primitive world. Show yourself, he yelled, raising his plasma rifle. His soldiers formed a tense circle around him, weapons pointing out at the glowing forest. The planet answered. The ground under the heavy mining drill unit, a massive vehicle on thick treads, suddenly softened. The rich, dark soil turned into a deep, sucking mud. It was not natural. It was as if the very earth decided to become water. The drill unit tilted, sinking fast. The Cathar operator yelled in alarm, scrambling for the hatch as the mud swallowed his machine with a thick, gurgling sound. Within seconds, it was gone, leaving only a bubbling patch of wet ground. Before anyone could react to that, the glowing vines moved. They uncurled from the trees like green whips. They did not move like plants, they moved like trained soldiers. One vine snapped out and wrapped itself around the barrel of Back's rifle. It pulled with surprising strength, yanking the weapon from his grip and tossing it far into the bushes. All around him, the same thing happened to his soldiers. Vines lashed out, disarming them with terrifying efficiency. They did not attack the Cathar themselves. They did not try to hurt them. They only took their weapons, pulling them away and discarding them. A soldier fired his plasma gun at a vine. The bright energy bolt hit the plant, which glowed white-hot for a second, but then two more vines immediately grabbed his weapon and disarmed him. It was not a battle. It was a parent taking a dangerous toy from a child. It was calm, it was swift, and it was completely unstoppable. Within a minute, Back and his entire team were disarmed. They stood in a confused huddle, their weapons gone, their drill vanished, surrounded by a forest that glowed with a soft, angry light. The rhythmic clicking of the creatures continued, a constant reminder that they were not in control. The planet was now in charge. Sub-Commander Back struggled against the living vines holding him. They were strong and flexible, woven into a tight cage around his body. He could not move his arms or legs. He was trapped, standing upright, a prisoner of the forest itself. All around him, his soldiers were in the same situation, each held fast by glowing green plants. The forest was quiet again, except for the soft, pulsing light that seemed to watch them. Then, the air in front of Back began to shimmer. It was like heat rising off a desert, but here in the cool shade. The light gathered together, forming a shape. It became a perfect sphere, a ball of soft, white light that hovered silently before his face. It did not blink or change. It simply was. A voice came from the sphere. It was the same calm, synthetic voice that had spoken from the air. It had no anger, no fear, no pride. It was just a voice stating facts. I am the steward of this world, it said. Back stared, his mind refusing to accept what he was seeing and hearing. A ball of light was talking to him. You are a machine, he hissed. I am, the steward agreed. A guardian. Left behind to care for this place. We have claimed this world for the Cathar Imperium. Back shouted, trying to sound strong even while tied up by plants. Our claim is valid. We planted our standard. Your claim is invalid, the steward replied, its tone never changing. This planet has been a protected sanctuary for 302 Earth years. My creators did not believe in claiming. They believed in preservation. They did not wish to own this world. They wished to keep it safe. Back felt a hot rush of anger. He was a warrior of the mighty Imperium, being lectured by a ghost. Your creators are gone, he yelled. They are nothing. They left you here and forgot about you. We are here now. Our warship is in the sky above us. Commander Vorlak will see that we are silent. He will send more soldiers. He will burn your forests to ash from orbit. You cannot stop us. He expected the light to flicker with fear. He expected the voice to show worry. He was wrong. The steward remained perfectly placid. The sphere of light did not even dim. Your weapons are irrelevant, it stated, as if discussing the weather. This world is not just trees and rivers. It is one thing. A system. Every plant, every animal, every piece of soil is connected. It is a network. I am its mind. You can burn one part, and another will grow back. You can blow a crater in the ground, and life will fill it. To destroy this world, you would have to destroy every single piece of it at once. You would gain nothing but a dead rock. The steward paused for a moment, letting the idea sink in. Your people value resources. You take them. We offer you something else. We offer you a lesson. A lesson in patience. Bak could only stare, his anger slowly cooling into a cold, hard lump of understanding. This was not a fight he could win with guns and ships. He was not fighting an army. He was fighting an idea. And he had no idea how to shoot an idea. The silence from the planet and the claw of ascendancy was a deep and troubling mystery. Back in orbit, Commander Vorlak could not raise Subcommander Bak or his team. His ship's scanners showed life signs on the surface, but they were still encrusted together. Nothing moved. It made no sense. Then, new lights blinked into existence on the edge of the star system. They were the sharp, angular shapes of a Cathar battle group. The lead ship, the massive cruiser Star Razor, moved to take up a position beside the smaller scout ship. Admiral Gravax was here. On the bridge of the Star Razor, Admiral Gravax was not a patient being. He listened to Vorlak's confused report with growing irritation. A planet had somehow captured a Cathar landing party? It was an embarrassment. The planet is clearly hostile, Gravax declared, his voice like grinding stones. We will not negotiate with dirt and trees. Target the area where our soldiers were lost. A single precise strike will burn a warning into the soil and show this world who commands this sector. His weapons officer nodded, his fingers moving over the console to prepare the orbital laser. The air on the bridge grew tense with the promise of punishment. But before the order could be given, an alert chimed on the communication officer's screen. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the planet. It is not a communication. It is a data packet. It is labeled, "For the Curious." Gravax scowled. A trick. Ignore it. Admiral, the officer insisted, it is being broadcast on every frequency. It is very old data. It does not appear to be a weapon. With a frustrated wave of his hand, Gravax agreed. Put it on the main screen. Let us see what nonsense this place is sending us. The main view screen, which had been focused on the green world below, changed. The image was grainy and the colors were faded. It showed a different ship landing on the planet long ago. It was a simple, functional vessel, not a warship. Its side had a name painted in human letters, UES Endeavour. The Cathar officers watched, silent and confused, as the humans emerged. There was no show of force. They did not plant a flag or claim the land with loud speeches. Instead, they got to work. A human with a kind face, identified in the log as Captain Minute, walked through the valleys, taking samples of soil and water, always careful to leave no trace. Another, a woman named Sue, carefully planted seeds from earth, talking about balance and new ecosystems. An engineer named Jin built small, simple structures that looked like they were meant to help the forest grow, not cut it down. They were not conquerors. They were gardeners. They poured their effort into making the world more beautiful and more alive, knowing they would never see the full results of their work. They were building a gift for the future. The final log entry showed them all standing together. Captain Minute spoke to the recording device. Our work here is done. The steward will watch over our dream now. We leave this world in peace, and we hope that any who find it will understand the value of what grows here, not what can be taken from it. The screen went dark. The bridge of the Star Razor was utterly silent. The weapons officer's hand had fallen away from the firing controls. Admiral Gravax stared at the blank screen. His entire life was about taking. His culture was about claiming and using. The idea of putting so much effort into something you would never own, never use, never benefit from, it was a paradox. It was a form of power he did not understand. It was a strategy that could not be defeated by lasers or bombs. How do you destroy a gift? How do you conquer a dream? He looked from the silent, deadly weapons console to the peaceful planet on the screen. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Gravax had no idea what to do. Admiral Gravax sat in his command chair, but he no longer felt like a commander. The silent images from the human ship played over and over in his mind. He saw Captain Min's calm face. He saw the biologist, Sue, gently placing a seed in the soil. He saw the engineer, Jin, building not a weapon, but a home for animals. He looked at his weapons officer, whose hand was still poised over the firing controls. He looked at the view screen, showing the peaceful, green world below. He imagined giving the order. He imagined lasers cutting down the beautiful, glowing forests. He imagined turning a living paradise into a dead, black scar. And for what? To prove a point? To save face? The humans on that old recording had not thought about face. They had thought about the future. He was a warrior of the Cathar Imperium. His entire life had been about winning. But today, he understood that some battles could not be won by fighting. If he attacked, he would lose. He would gain a dead world and the memory of the gardeners he had destroyed. It was the worst kind of defeat. He let out a long, slow breath. The sound was loud in the quiet room. "Stand down," he said, his voice rough. "All weapons, stand down." The crew on the bridge stared at him in shock. They had never heard such an order. Gravax straightened up. He was not a fool. He knew when he was outmatched. "Open a channel to the planet's surface," he commanded. The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Gravax looked at the screen, though he knew he was speaking to a machine, to a spirit in the soil. "Steward," he began. His voice was heavy. It was not angry anymore. It was full of a new, reluctant respect. "We will depart. This system, we will mark it as forbidden. No Cathar ship will come here again." There was a moment of silence. Then, the calm, synthetic voice of the steward filled the bridge. "A wise choice, Admiral." A new alert chimed on the communication console. "We are receiving another data packet from the planet." "What is it?" Gravax asked. "It is information. Diagrams. Scientific data. It is about environmental stability. About how to create balanced ecosystems. How to heal worlds instead of hurting them." Gravax was stunned. He had come to conquer and take. Instead, he was being given a gift. It was a technology his own people did not possess, and it was far more valuable than any metal or fuel they could have mined. It was the knowledge of how to create life. "Tell the steward, we accept," Gravax said quietly. The Cathar fleet turned. Their engines glowed as they moved away from the planet, heading back into the dark of space. They did not leave with plunder or pride. They left with a new, unsettling idea about what power truly meant. Down on the surface, the glowing vines holding back and his men gently loosened. They slithered back into the forest, their light fading away. The soldiers were free. They looked around, confused and unharmed. Their weapons were still gone. A shuttle from their ship landed nearby to pick them up. As Back walked toward it, he saw the sphere of light one last time, hovering silently by the trees. It was not a threat. It was just watching. He also saw the ground where they had broken the human plaque. The soil was moving. Minerals were rising up from deep below, shaping themselves in the air. They formed a flat, metal plate. Then, lines appeared on its surface, etching themselves with invisible tools. A star map. A DNA helix. A sequence of numbers. Words in a human language. Before his eyes, a new, perfect plaque grew from the ground, replacing the one they had broken. Back turned and boarded the shuttle without a word. The doors closed behind him. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the world behind. Below, the forest was quiet. The river flowed. The new plaque stood clean and bright in the sunlight. The planet was at peace again. It was whole and unconquerable. It was held in trust, waiting patiently for its true gardeners to return.